Finally, this work period, we must continue to confirm President Biden's nominees and rebalance the federal bench with judges who respect the rule of law. Sadly, Americans' faith in the judiciary is at an all-time low after the extreme MAGA right captured the Supreme Court. In the last few weeks, this MAGA majority on the court has gutted affirmative action, blocked student debt relief for millions of Americans, and greenlit discrimination against the LGBTQ community. What we're seeing at the Supreme Court is a sickening hypocrisy. As some justices feel free to accept lavish gifts and vacations from billionaire friends, they're refusing to help everyday Americans just trying to get a fair shake. And the billionaires who have provided these trips and emoluments are no ordinary run-of-the-mill billionaires. They are ideological MAGA extremists who bankroll hard-right MAGA causes and then bring those cases before the same judges they patronized. Congress has clear authority to oversee the federal judiciary, and that includes making sure that the highest court in the land is held to equally high ethical standards. So I support Chairman Durbin and the Judiciary Committee's efforts to advance SCOTUS ethics reform and look forward to working with them on this issue. In the meantime, Senate Democrats will continue to help restore faith and balance to the federal judiciary by keeping up our historic pace of confirming President Biden's judicial nominees. And on voting rights, the great John Lewis said, quote, "Democracy is not a state, it's an act, and each generation must do its part to help build what we call the beloved community." We should heed these words in our day and age, because today, House Republicans introduced their latest broadside against the fundamental right to vote, a sweeping bill that one lawmaker called, quote, "the most substantive and conservative election integrity legislation that will come before the House in over a generation." Let me say it again. The most substantive and conservative election integrity legislation that will come before the House in over a generation. Democrats here in the Senate will never allow such a terrible proposal to become law. And very soon, we will once again move to bring real, much-needed voting rights legislation before Congress. People think that the attacks against democracy came and went on January 6th. Unfortunately, sadly, that is not true. In states as diverse as Georgia, Texas, Iowa, Florida, and Arizona, partisans have rewritten the rules of our elections in broad daylight to make it harder to vote in a democracy that, of course, for centuries has hailed the right to vote and advanced it. Today's bill from Republicans is the latest example of the giant step backward the Republicans these days are taking when it comes to voting rights, and Democrats will fiercely oppose it. Yield the floor. Oh, I do not yet yield the floor. Madam President, I understand that there's a bill at the desk that is due for a second reading.
The clerk will read the title of the bill for the second time.
S-2178, a bill to extend the Chemical Facility Anti-Terrorism Standards Program and so forth, and for other purposes.
In order to place the bill on the calendar under the provisions of Rule 14, I would object to further proceeding.
Objection having been heard, the bill will be placed on the calendar.
I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.